China remains the factory of the world for all these parts that will be critical in batteries and solar. China controls almost all of the anodes, the cathodes for batteries. It controls almost all of the lithium processing. It builds almost all the wafers that are used in solar panels.
China will remain a dominant supplier to the US and everywhere else in many essential areas. It's really impossible to cut it out.
And at some point, I think the Biden administration will have to come to an answer about whether they prioritize the cutting of emissions and doing all this cheaply, which probably means more supplies from countries like China, or whether it really is about re-industrialisation and the climate targets can be delayed.
We can't keep the 1.5 objective of global warming temperature as a limit if we don't do technological cooperation. We need Chinese capacity. If we operate in a very fluid economic environment without this trade tension, we will achieve the climate goal more quickly.
To create a transformation in the industrial system, you have to distort markets. One of the big challenges is that once you start doing that, you create political allies that want that distortion to continue. American producers of solar panels are more expensive than their overseas competitors. That, along with a bunch of supply chain issues, means that U.S. buyers of solar power are paying more money than their competitors overseas. That's, over the long term, not good for the green transition because it makes a very promising technology more expensive.
I think the Europeans relied on cheap fossil fuels, or at least lower-priced fossil fuels from Russia. They regretted that at the end of the day after Russia violated international law and invaded Ukraine. This idea that cheapest is always best opens you up to economic security problems.
So in the next 20 to 30 years, we need to fully decarbonize. That's going to require a guide and a market guide from government and private investments to work. That's what we see happening right now with the Inflation Reduction Act.
China is now the largest emitter in the world, almost double the size of the United States. The United States remains the world's historic largest emitter. We both have to do more. Competition can be healthy in this sector, too. It can drive down costs. It can lead to innovation.
I think it's also important to realize that it was passed in the follow-up of the pandemic, in which supply chains around the world were completely strained. Our supply chains here in the United States are going to be as low carbon as it gets because we're getting our polysilicon from a facility in Washington State, which has a high degree of hydropower that's powering its grid, meaning that the embedded carbon in the products that we produce here will also be lower.